Yerrrrrrrrrr. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Burrow77 coming to you live with another Champions League midweek football slate. This week, the games are starting at 4 p.m. because America and Europe don't do the spring forward fall back at the same time during the same week. So there will be an extra hour to prep for games this week. That also means we should be getting lineups around 2:45, but minimum 3 p.m. Eastern. Other than that minor change, it's still the same format. We will have 2 games on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern and 2 games on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I didn't make a slide because a lot of this stuff is lineup dependent and I can't guarantee anybody's going to start or play. So I don't have official picks to go through the record with or make a slide for it. But last week we did really well. We found a lot of value on guys who are targets for set pieces. Guys like Lenormand and Traore for Real Sociedad, who got us nice shots on target at plus 550 and plus 650. We also cashed our Dembele assist for PSG at plus 380. Dembele assisted Mbappe for his goal, which we also took at plus 140. PSG ended up winning that match 2-1, so we cashed on our PSG draw no bet at plus 102. We also did well in the Bayern game. Bayern won 3-0, keeping that game under the total of 3.5. If you took the risk, Bayern first half team total over 1.5 cashed at plus 230. Same thing with a Bayern win to nil at minus 105 or a Bayern Asian handicap of -1. Fading Lazio also worked out well for us. We cashed the Lazio team total under 8.5 shots at minus 103. Lazio team total under 2.5 shots on target at plus 102, along with some player props like Mueller shot on target at minus 120, Musiala and Sane both to have 2 or more first half shots at plus 120 and plus 105. On the Wednesday matches, we cashed our both teams to score in City Copenhagen at plus 150. City ran out a pretty heavily rotated lineup, so I didn't have a ton of those guys on our shots on target, or player props slides, so we didn't clean up there as well as we should have. Blame that on Pep. Don't blame that on me. That's not the starting 11 I would have put out. Madrid unfortunately got a 1-1 tie, but it's enough to get them over the line and into the round of 8, and that's all that really matters. We were able to cash a Vinicius Jr. goal at plus 140, as well as the Bellingham to score or assist at minus 135. So these UCL videos have been hopefully helpful for you guys and very profitable for us as a team. Getting right into what we got this week, we will start with Arsenal versus Porto. Porto leads this tilt on aggregate 1-0. Our boy Golino got us the last-minute goal for Porto in stoppage time. And while Arsenal had a lot of the ball, they found it really difficult to break down this Porto back line in midfield. Arsenal did a nice job at racking up corners, accumulating 10 corners to Porto's 1. Arsenal also managed to win 14 free kicks. But of the 7 shots they took, they were unable to put a single one on target and never really threatened Porto, while controlling the ball for 62% of the game. One thing we definitely need to talk about and understand is that Porto struggled in league play early this season, but has recently found some form. Why is that important? Well, only the winner of the Portuguese league gets an automatic qualification into the UCL rounds next year. If you finish second, you win a chance to play your way in through qualifications like PSV did. And right now, Porto is sitting in third, which only gets them into Europa League qualifications. Porto's expectations are to compete for the league and to play Champions League football every season. So the pressure internally on management and players here is to do well in Champions League. Because much like the NCAA tournament, the winner of your league gets an auto qualification, and the winner of Champions League automatically qualifies for Champions League next season. Right now, Porto are 7 points back of Sporting and 6 points behind Benfica, who they just beat 5-0. On the other hand, Arsenal have been on a tear domestically. They have won their last 8 Premier League fixtures in a row. Prior to the loss at Porto here, their only other loss came back on January 7th to Liverpool in the FA Cup. Before that, you have to go all the way back to December of 2023. So regardless of my feelings towards Arsenal supporters, their club is playing good ball. Notice I said good and not great. That's because Arsenal struggled with Brentford in a London derby this weekend. They still managed to pull out the win, but it got close and it was very sweaty. Arsenal has been struggling against mid-blocks and teams that play 4-2-3-1 and 3-5-2. And having Martinelli out at left wing really hurts the creativity and offense of this Arsenal squad. If you want to back Arsenal at home at the Emirates, this is how you can do it. I'm not sure which side I'm going to be on. I think I'm going to be on Porto, but we will see. Where I find value in Arsenal lines is this team total over under 2.5 is set pretty high, in my opinion, for UCL. I know what the Gunners offense is capable of when it's firing on all cylinders, but I don't think that Arsenal, Arteta, or their fans fully understand what it means to play tournament-style football yet. You are down 1-0 on aggregate. You definitely need 1 goal to at least get extra time, and it's not necessarily the risks you take to win the game that are going to be crucial here. A lot of what UCL ball and tournament football is minimizing your mistakes and making your mistakes as small as humanly possible. So if you think Arsenal score 3 or more goals, over plus 110 is a really nice number. If, like me, you think Porto is going to give Arsenal problems and this is going to be a cagey low-scoring match, I really like the team total under here at minus 135. Arsenal are down a goal on aggregate, so they need to be tight defensively in the back. They can't go giving up goals to Porto when they need to rack up goals themselves to advance. So if you're interested, Arsenal winning to 0 is minus 120 over on Caesars. I think that's a pretty fair number. And then if you think Arsenal at the Emirates really are the truth and they're ready for UCL ball, you can take them to win both halves at plus 145 over on FanDuel. To win both halves means they have to score a goal in at least both halves. To win the first half, you have to be leading on the scoreboard at the end of 45 minutes. And to win the second half, it's like the game started 0-0 and you have to win again in the second half. Just so everyone's clear on that. That doesn't mean you can win 1-0 for the entire game and cash the win both halves ticket. Now, if you're real cocky and confident, you can take Arsenal first half team total over 1.5 at plus 195. If you think they come out screaming and scoring goals at the Emirates, that's up to you. I personally don't see that happening, so I'm not going to play it, but it is a nice number, so I figured I'd mention it here. Otherwise, a lot of the value is going to be with player props if you want to back Arsenal. Keeping things moving into how to find value on Porto. If you like Porto to qualify, plus 265 is a really nice number to do it. They're up 1-0 on aggregate, and all they need to do is take all that European experience and talent they have on the pitch and grind out a 0-0 or any combination where they draw or win this game, and they will qualify without having to go to extras or PKs. Even if Porto is losing the game, even if Porto is losing by 1, this game will go into extra time and then into PK shootouts if necessary. So I think this is a really nice number on the to qualify for Porto, seeing as they have a 1-0 lead. Both teams to score at plus 130 feels like a really nice price. I put this under the how to find value in Porto because everybody expects Arsenal to score at the Emirates. You are expected to score in your own building. So the value here is because if you like Porto to score, that's why there's value on both teams to score. I also think there's value in the under 2.5 goals in this game. Like I said, Porto is very accomplished in Europe. They have multiple European titles. and they have a deep squad that is old and full of players that are experienced at this level and know how to get the job done and keep it moving. Another position I think has a lot of value is the Asian handicap plus 1.75 at minus 105 over on Bet Rivers. If you give me a quick second, I'll pull up the Asian handicap table for you all. It looks just like this. And as you can see, plus 0.175 means that if Porto lose by exactly 1 goal, you win your bet. If Porto loses by exactly 2 goals, you get a half loss and half your money back as a push. And if they lose by 3 or more, it's a loss. The Asian handicap is a really nice way to find some value and still keep a push in play, as opposed to a two-way handicap where there is no push. And as always, I think that the physical style of play that Porto likes is cards and fouls prone. And when we start talking about that, we get into the player props neighborhood. And I do think there is value on Porto player props as well as Arsenal player props. Speaking of player props, let's get into a couple of Arsenal players to target here. Declan Rice to score or assist at plus 175 over on FanDuel. The Martinelli injury has really changed how Declan Rice's role is used. Rice has been playing over on the left and being given the freedom to push forward and attack a lot more since they have Jorginho playing his role as a CDM. For those of you who don't know, CDM stands for center defensive midfielder. So Jorginho takes on a lot more of the defensive central responsibilities, giving Declan Rice the freedom to push forward and join the attack on the left side. This has been really good for Rice. He's been finding more shot opportunities. He's been scoring goals, and he's also been setting his teammates up for assists with nice crosses. Next, it's the UCL, so we got to talk about the captain, Martin Odegaard. It's your job as the captain to step up and perform when the pressure's highest. So 2 score assists for Odegaard, plus 110 over on FanDuel. I think that's a really nice number. And it wouldn't be talking Arsenal if we're not talking about the star boy Saka. I really like his assist number at plus 200. He takes a ton of corners and set pieces, so I like his assist number a lot, though he is liable to score goals as well. I wasn't super interested in bringing you a minus money prop on players because I do think goals are going to be incredibly hard to come by in this one. I would be more interested in shots and shots on target at minus money, much more so than people to score or assist. Keeping it moving, we're going to talk about the same guys we did last video for Porto because they worked out for us well. Galeno to score or assist is plus 550 on FanDuel. As I mentioned, he got us the goal last game. In Galeno's last 6 matches, he has 6 goals and 3 assists. He's been on a tear since Taremi's been hurt. And with that Taremi injury, Ivan Nielsen has been getting a lot more run. I love Ivan Nielsen's to score or assist prop here at plus 400 over on FanDuel. He's already had 4 goals and an assist in UCL this season. And as I said, he's been playing a lot more and better quality minutes with Taremi being out hurt. Now, I have read that Taremi is coming off of his injury and has trained with this team. He likely will not start this match, but he is always worth a note. He is a club legend at Porto. He will be moving on to Inter this summer. And if you see him come on as a substitute and Porto is in need of something, chances are the ball is going to move through Taremi. But like I said, he is coming off of a thigh injury, and I do not expect to see him in the starting 11. Moving on to some shots on target prices I think are really good and worth talking about. Obviously, Declan Rice at plus 105. We just talked about how his position shift has allowed him to be much more involved with this offense. Even Nielsen, if I like his to score assist at plus 400, I'm pretty sure I like his shot on target at plus 160 over on DraftKings. Same thing with Galeno, plus 170 for a shot on target, I think is a really high number. The other thing we got to mention, since we had so much success with target men on set pieces last video, we got to talk about Pepe. He's the old head center back, left back, right back. He plays on that back line. He's tall, he's bald, he's an ex-Madrid player. He's got a ton of UCL titles. He knows what to do. He knows how to get in the air. It's a complete long shot, but in my opinion, definitely worth it at 10-1 over on FanDuel. Now, besides Rice, to find a lot of value on Arsenal shots and shots on target, you have to stick with first half only numbers. Saka, 2 shots in the first half is -110 over on FanDuel. Rice, 2 shots in the first half is +330 on FanDuel. Gabriel Jesus has been nursing an injury and wasn't available last match for Arsenal, but he came on as a substitute over the weekend for 30+ minutes, and it sounds like he is going to be good to go for this one. He might get a limited run, though, so you might only see 60 minutes out of him, or even less. So if I'm playing Gabby Jesus props, I'm taking them first half. And his first half shot on target at -120 over on FanDuel feels really nice. And same with Saka's first half shot on target at +100 over on FanDuel. I think this is going to be a really interesting and competitive game. I think Porto is very underestimated here with how much UCL experience this club has and these players have. And it can't be understated how long it has been since Arsenal's in this competition. It's been 7 years, 8 years since Arsenal's made knockouts. Arteta's not accustomed to coaching UCL and tournament-style football. Yes, you are at home. Yes, you have a better team on paper that should be capable of scoring a lot of goals. But this game isn't played on paper. And Porto's been listening to you talk like you're through to the round of 8 already, so there's nothing they'd like more than to ruin your week. Be careful with this one, Arsenal fans. Porto is no joke. That said, we'll keep things moving to Barcelona versus Napoli. This series is tied 1-1 on aggregate. Last match, we hit Lewandowski and Osimhen for anytime goal scorers. And spoiler alert, before we get to the slides, gotta go back to them again. You'll see why in a minute, but it's because they're really good. Anyway, Napoli has been finding their form domestically, but has continued to struggle in away fixtures. I would say I don't know what it is that Napoli just struggles on the road, but we all know what it is. You sold Kim, who was a top 3 center back on the planet, which I'm sure he's regretting because he is just absolutely rotting on the bench over at Bayern, getting no playing time. And your Scudetto winning manager took a year hiatus to figure out what he wants to do next in his football career. Napoli is on their 3rd manager of the season. They finally got a bunch of their players back from AFCON and from the Asian Cup and have started looking like an actually competent football team for once. Despite all those compliments, Napoli, even though they are looking better and playing well, they've been doing a majority of that work at home and continue to struggle on the road, as I mentioned. So if there's ever a time to show up on the road, it's this week. Barcelona have been inconsistent at best. They have a very high ceiling, but they also have a pretty low floor. It's important to note that Barcelona is not playing at the Camp Nou while it is under renovation. They are in a substitute stadium. It's still going to be packed. It's still going to be loud as hell in there. There's still going to be plenty of Barcelona fans. But it's still not the same as being at the Camp Nou on a European night. Barcelona also has a laundry list of injuries, including guys we liked and took props for last time these two faced off. So, unfortunately, there's a couple of suspect defenses here and some really high-powered offenses, which means I see a lot of goals again. Now, you guys know my feelings about Barcelona, and I gotta tell you, this isn't my personal bias. This is just what I see from a football perspective. Yes, Napoli played their starters a full 90 minutes over the weekend. Even though they gave their starters a full run of play, they were unable to find a win at home versus Torino. Barcelona was able to rest a few of their starters, but due to being tied with Mallorca 0-0 late, they had to bring a lot of those guys on and have them play for at least 30 minutes. Kind of ruins the whole save your energy for Champions League thing that you were going for there, Barcelona. So I like Napoli here on the double chance, especially with us tied on aggregate. I think that if we see another 1-1, we will definitely see stoppage time and maybe even a PK shootout, I could easily see us going into stoppage time. I could see a draw here in regulation. And I could also see Napoli winning outright in regulation. So if I'm going to get a double chance on Napoli to get a draw or a win in 90 minutes at plus 100, that's the way I'm going to lean instead of paying juice to take Barcelona on the money line. Some other numbers I find to have value here is the both teams to score at minus 135. That is pretty juiced. I would like to find a dance partner for a number that high. Same with the over 2.5 at minus 135. If you're a correlations guy and you think that this one has 3 goals in it inside 90 minutes, I don't think that Barca's getting a 3-0 lead. I don't think that Napoli's getting a 3-0 lead. So I think both teams to score over 2.5 at plus 100 is a really nice price. I also think with it being tied on aggregate, getting Napoli to qualify at plus 195 is a really, really nice number for a Barcelona squad that's going to struggle with depth if this goes into extra time. The reason I'm on Napoli double chance here at plus 100 is because I do think a draw after 90 minutes is the most likely outcome at plus 280 over on DraftKings. But if you're going to give me Napoli with the draw at even money, I'm going to take that instead of just trying to play the draw straight up. That is my personal preference anyway. Keeping things moving, it should be no surprise. We're going straight back to Lewandowski for a goal at plus 125 over on Caesars. Lewandowski is Mr. UCL despite his struggles at Barcelona. Louis got 98 goals in 136 UCL match appearances. In other words, he's scored a goal in 72% of all UCL appearances. That is including when he was a young gun coming on as a substitute, or if he was coming off of an injury and only played 30 minutes. That's any game he's touched the pitch in UCL. He's done it 136 times. And he's bagged 98 goals. That is absolutely outrageous. As I mentioned earlier, he did rest versus Mallorca, but was used as a sub for 30 plus minutes. So I'm not super worried about it. He's healthy. He just, is a little bit up there in age. And Barcelona made the mistake of thinking that they could beat Mallorca without their starters, and it didn't work out that way. So they had to bring their starters on to win that game. Moving right along, we're going to stick with the same 3 guys we took from the last video. For Napoli, Cavachela, aka Special K, to score or assist at plus 170. Special K has been on a heater recently. He's been scoring goals. He's been getting assists. Him and Osimhen have great chemistry now that Osimhen is back from the AFCON Cup. It's really starting to show, and you can tell he's shaking off that sophomore slump now that the team's back together and everyone's playing cohesive football again. For me, forget the to score or assist. I know Osimhen does assist occasionally, but I'm taking a straight up goal here at plus 210. That number's way too high for a guy who's proven that he can do it on all of the world's biggest stages time and time again. I also want to take another look at Matteo Politano to score or assist at plus 210 over on FanDuel. Politano is a great starter and a really important piece, but he does tend to get the hook early and get subbed off around that 65, 70 minute mark when Napoli's making some adjustments for their end of game scenarios. Keeping it moving, we got a couple of shots on target prices worth looking at. Yamal for Barcelona, he's the young kid. It's his debut season. Minus 136 is just way too short of a number for his shot on target. Gundogan, we're going right back to him at plus 120 over on DK. Politano, plus 125 over on DK. Lewandowski, 2 shots on target, plus 140 on DK. Osimhen, 2 shots on target, plus 210 over on FanDuel. Those are the strikers, offensive guys, offensive midfielders. I like 4 shots here. Getting into a couple of obscure ones, Cancelo, plus 220. As a defender who came over from City, who has a history of liking to shoot and put them on frame in the UCL, I like this a lot. He also is going to be involved in set pieces and can get up for aerials. And the Cameroon international Nguissa, who plays midfield for Napoli, has been kind of in his bag this UCL. Shooting isn't really his thing, and shots on target aren't really his thing, but he does have a couple of nice assists, and he has put 3 on frame in 7 UCL matches. So I think plus 300 is a really nice long shot odds play for a guy who typically isn't going to shoot, but knows how to identify space that he's created and when to put his laces through a ball. Casual reminder, that is it for the Tuesday 4 p.m. games. We are going to talk about the Wednesday 4 p.m. games now, starting with Atletico Madrid versus Inter Milan. Again, these start Wednesday at 4 p.m. You can expect lineups around 3 p.m. Eastern. You can watch this whole video now, or you can come back to this on Wednesday afternoon and get a refresher if you like. Right now, Inter is in the driver's seat, leading this series 1-0 on aggregate. Atleti doesn't look good. They are struggling in Spain, and they are struggling domestically, and they looked pretty pathetic over the weekend, losing 2-0 at Cadiz. They got a decent result, winning 2-1 versus Betis in their own building back on the 3rd. They got smacked out of the Copa del Rey by Athletic Bilbao 3-0. And then they drew a winless Almeria team in La Liga. You heard that correctly. 0 wins on the season for Almeria, and Atleti drew them 2-2. In contrast, Inter Milan has been absolutely boat racing people. Not just beating them, beating the brakes off them. Inter Milan hasn't lost a game this year. Calendar year 2024, nothing but dubs. You gotta go back to December 29th of 23, where they had a 1-1 draw away at Genoa. Inter has 13 consecutive wins and looks like the most dangerous club on the planet, not named Real Madrid. I say all of that to mentally prepare you for the fact that Inter has no interest in winning this game. And if they do win this game, it'll be like a 1-0 because they got a really good counter opportunity they couldn't lay off. Or because Atleti being Atleti did something scumbag in the box and they picked up a PK. Inter is one of the best teams in the business when it comes to grinding out draws on the road. That's how they made it to the finals last year in UCL. I expect nothing less from Inter. They are going to try and dominate possession here, use their giant body midfielders who are physical to just pass you to death 1,500 times this game. Especially with Thurman coming back from injury and now Arnautovic being out for about a month. There's really not a healthy second striker for this Inter Milan team, so everything's going to run through Lautaro Martinez when they want to push the ball forward and strike. But they're not super interested in doing that here, because Inter know they can grind out 90 minutes in a 0-0 match against anybody. So all of the pressure here is on Atleti. Atleti's going to have to press, and they are going to have to attack. It makes for an interesting game because I don't think Inter are going to take a lot of big risks here, especially in the first half. And I really don't know how committed they're going to be to scoring on the counter. They might still be committed to the counter, but to clear their box and keep the midfield battle alive. Like I said, in UCL football, it's not all about making the worldy goal and being the best and pressuring forward and scoring 7, 8, or 9 goals. It's about minimizing your mistakes, and Inter is one of the best in the business when it comes to make your mistakes small. So where do I see the value in this game? Well, that's pretty easy. It's in the under. I know you don't like it. Nobody likes it. And you gotta pay juice to do it. It's minus 125, but I still think that's a really good number on under 2.5. I also think both teams to score no at plus 110 is a really good number. If Atleti do get a goal, then this will be 1-1 going to extras, and that's when I think Inter will be interested in moving forward. With Atleti's injuries and the questionability of Oblak in net this season, I wouldn't be surprised if Inter was perfectly comfortable going to PKs. They have the 5 more talented guys to strike from the spot, and in my opinion, they have the keeper who's in better form to come up with a big save. Another smart way to play this, I think, would be Inter on the draw no bet at -130. I do think if anybody scores here, it's probably going to be Inter on a counter. And if you really, really believe me, you can take Inter on the money line at +155. Again, they haven't lost this calendar year and have strung 13 W's together in a row. But more than likely, I think this is going to be a 0-0 draw, maybe even a 1-1 draw. But I think this will be a 0-0, 1-0, either way game. The draw at +230 on MGM does have a lot of appeal for me. So since I don't like goals, I don't have a ton of key player props I want to talk about. But the one that definitely can't go without being talked about is Alvaro Morata. His anytime goal scorer is +230 over on FanDuel. Morata has struggled with injury recently, but has been in the lineup, so he should be good to go for this one. And Atleti are going to need him, and they're going to need to lean on their veteran. Morata is no rookie when it comes to playing UCL ball. He used to play for Madrid. He used to play for Juventus. Now he plays for Atleti, and he's got 28 career UCL goals. If anybody's getting in the back of the net, I think it's going to be Morata. Look, this is just some silly, hey, whatever meme internet stuff that I like to say, but it does kind of hold up. Check Morata's hair in warm-ups. If he's looking good, if he's got that mohawk going and there's not a strand out of place, Morata go all day. Good hair Morata is the Morata we want to see. If Morata's looking all disheveled and his hair's not pristine and it looks like he just got out of bed, then there's absolutely no chance I would take that man for a goal. Bad hair Morata doesn't know how to play. Now, as I say all this, I want to remind you guys that big chances missed are Morata's kryptonite. He will blow about 3 wide open opportunities that make you want to throw your hat, your shirt, your remote, something across the room, maybe even your TV off the balcony. He will frustrate you endlessly because that's just kind of what he does. In fact, it's gotten to the point where I call people of different nationalities blank Morata. So Silva over on Sociedad, I call him Portuguese Morata for the amount of sitters he misses in front of the net. I just want you guys to all be aware of how frustrating it can be to bet on a guy like Morata when you need him. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying that it's frustrating to watch on most occasions. Not a rare occasion, most of the time. Keeping it moving to shots on target prices. Again, I do think there's going to be value in Inter's midfield. It didn't turn out that way last time. They were able to kind of get the ball through and get it up to Martinez and Arnautovic whenever they wanted. So their midfielders didn't really shoot. I think that's going to be a little bit different today. I think they are going to look to control the ball a lot more and not turn it over to Atleti if they don't have to. So I do think more shots are going to be coming from the midfield. And I'm not sure who's going to be in and out of everybody's lineup. So these are just the names that stick out to me that have value on their shot on target numbers. Like I said, if I'm taking anybody for a goal, it's going to be Morata. So his shot on target at -167 is too long to play on its own, but it's something nice to find a dance partner for. I think Memphis Depay likely is the second striker we see, with Griezmann still being hurt for Atleti, and -143 is a really good number on Memphis. Durham should be playing that second striker role for Inter, and -114 over on Bet Rivers is a really nice price. Arnautovic, when he came in and played his role, had 4 shots in the second half and ended up netting 1 for a goal. Lino on Atleti is a guy who likes to shoot and can put him on frame. +100 is a really nice number. Calhanoglu is the midfielder for Inter, who I mentioned took over PK duty for Martinez. So if there is a penalty kick, he will likely take it, and he's gonna put it on frame. He just whips it in as hard as he can at either post. And he also just loves jacking for chicks from the midfield. If you type in his name on YouTube, you're just going to see him scoring like 30-yard worldies from way outside the box. This dude loves putting up shots from distance, and he has an absolute howitzer for a leg. Same goes for DeMarco and Mkhitaryan. Those are both Inter midfielders that have cannons for legs and like to pull up and shoot. Lornette for Atleti, if he's playing forward in that second striker position instead of Memphis Depay, this price is way off market. He typically plays either in the midfield or even on the back line, but will play forward for Atleti when called upon. So keep an eye on this lineup and see where Lornette's lined up. Bellara's another midfielder for Inter that goes along with Calhanoglu, DeMarco, and Mkhitaryan. And last but not least, we got to talk about Pavard. Pavard came over to Inter from Bayern. He's a French international. I thought it was pretty stupid of Bayern to get rid of him, especially since his replacement was Upamecano, who took a red card like in UCL. So I don't know. Pavard is massive though. He gets up for headers. He likes to shoot. He likes to press forward. He's a guy that did a lot of shooting for Bayern. They don't need it so much for themselves here at Inter. But if Inter get corners, this is the guy whose forehead they're going to try and swing it onto. So I like taking a look at Pavard's shots, and his shot on target at plus 270 seems really nice. Pulling into our last and what I think will be the most exciting game left in the round of 16 for UCL. Dortmund is hosting PSV. This is tied on aggregate 1-1. Dortmund has struggled at home this season and is 7-2-3 in the Bundesliga, with a goal differential of 24 scored and 18 conceded. Normally, Dortmund at home in front of the big yellow wall is a lot more intimidating and a lot better than this. So if there's ever a time to catch them sleeping, PSV, this is it. PSV is 1-1-1 away in UCL this season, and it's not even really worth talking about their record domestically because they haven't lost a game over there all season. Ajax is having a really down year, and PSV is just stomping through everybody. The one thing that gives me hesitation and pause, though, is Dortmund came through the group of death, and Dortmund always finds a way. Dortmund are here perennially for a reason. It's because they have the pedigree. They know what they're doing. And this is going to be a very interesting and difficult matchup between a couple of very battle-tested and UCL hardened veterans. I'll be honest with you guys. I should probably take Dortmund, but I want to be on PSV so bad here. And I think the Asian handicap plus 0.5 at minus 130 is a really good number. Asian handicap plus 0.5 is the same thing as double chance, and the double chance is going for minus 135. So we save ourselves 5 cents on the dollar by finding the better number. And just in case you forgot, I will pull up that Asian handicap chart for you one more time. And as you can see here, this will get us paid if PSV end up winning or drawing at the end of regulation. I do think a draw is a very likely scenario here, just like last time, but I think we get 3 in regulation. I don't think that all 3 come from Dortmund or all 3 come from PSV. So I do like both teams to score an over 2.5 sitting at minus 130. Again, I really want to be with PSV here, so I like them to qualify. I think plus 135 over on DraftKings is a good number. Like I said, I do think the most likely outcome for regulation is a draw, so plus 285 is a really nice price. And if you think either team scores 2 in regulation here, I like both of the team total numbers. So team total for Dortmund over 1.5 at minus 120, I think is very playable. And team total for PSV over 1.5 at plus 150 on Caesars is really, really playable if you want to be with me on PSV. Because I think there's goals in this game, I do want to talk about some players that need targeting here, especially for Dortmund. Don't worry, we'll get to Daniel Malin. We're definitely going back to him. But Nicholas Fulkerg, he's going to be the 9 for Dortmund. He's been playing well. He's in form right now. His to score or assist is plus 110 over on FanDuel. He does it all. He scores, he assists. He does them both with a high frequency. So I think getting a plus number on him is really worth it. When it comes to talking about guys who do it in Europe and step up on the biggest stages, regardless of how their domestic form has been, Marco Reus fits that description. Reus has been in and out of injuries, in and out of the lineup, inconsistent all year when it comes to play in the Bundesliga. But this is who you turn to when you have to have a goal in European competition if you're Dortmund. Marco Reus has been a staple. He's been doing it forever for you under the brightest lights on the biggest stage. So if I see him out there, and I know Dortmund's got their backs against the wall, which they do, tied on aggregate, Marco Reus to score or assist at plus 140 is a really healthy looking number. Like I said, I'm going back to Daniel Malin again. He's a man on fire. He came over from PSV. He has a ton of Champions League experience. He's been playing well in Bundesliga. He's been playing well in Champions League. His to score or assist is plus 125. But if you want to go for the straight goal again, I can't blame you. We're not going to get the plus 300 like we did when they were away. But plus 210 still has plenty of meat left on the bone for me. And you can go ahead and take it there if you like. Moving on to the PSV players, it's going to be a little bit of the same stuff here. Irving Chucky Lozano to score or assist at plus 175, I think is a really good number. Chucky Lozano, like I said, he came over from Napoli. He's a great player. He's a Mexican international. He is getting a little bit long in the tooth, but he's crushing it for PSV and playing well. So I like Chucky a lot here. The young Belgian international, Johan Bakayoko, to score or assist, plus 250 on FanDuel. Again, I really like what Bakayoko brings to this team. I think he's a great prospect. I think he will be moving to a bigger club here shortly. And a way for PSV with their back against the wall to advance, yeah, I like taking a shot on the young kid at plus 250 to score or assist. We also got to talk about the American Serginho Dest to score or assist at plus 500. Now, don't have incredibly high expectations here. Dest is a right back. He's not a huge prolific scorer, but he does cross the ball really well and gets into dangerous areas. And his assist as a standalone at plus 800 is kind of what I was looking at. And then I saw, his goal was sitting at like 1,700. He scored one over the weekend. He has a couple domestically. I just don't want to play his assist only and then have him score a goal and be kicking myself over that. So I'm not going to get greedy with the plus 800 for the assist only. I will take the to score or assist at plus 500 on the young American who's playing and fitting into this team nicely. Last but not least, you know him, you love him. We've talked about him. He got us a goal last match. That's Luke de Jong. He will be in charge of all PK responsibilities for PSV as long as he's on the pitch. He's the captain. He's a 10-year UCL veteran. He's scored a ton of goals in this competition. He's scored a ton of goals domestically. He's the guy who can do it all. Luke de Jong to score or assist on the road, plus 125 is a completely disrespectful number. And yeah, I'm going to go back to his goal at plus 200 because I think that's a great price as well. Let's talk some shot on target prices before I do my plugs, let you know what we got cooked up for the rest of the week, and then get the hell out of here. Chucky Lozano, minus 125 for PSV. That's way too short of a number. Love that. Karim Adeyemi, like I said, he may or may not start. He may or may not play. If he's in the lineup, especially at left wing, I love him at minus 125. Marco Reus is the guy who you can depend on when you need it most. His shot on target is minus 121 over on Bet Rivers. Johan Bakayoko, like I said, for PSV, he had one last match, minus 105. This is a really nice number for him. Jordan Sancho had a goal either midweek or over the weekend. I can't remember which, but plus 110, if he's in the lineup, that's a great number. Same thing with Brandt for Dortmund, plus 116, really nice price. Starting to get into the midfielders a little bit here with Sabitzer. He's a guy who gets a lot of greasy goals. The ball tends to find him in the box. He has no problem pulling up from 18 yards or just right on the edge of the box. He likes to put shots on frame as well for Dortmund. Kahn and Sewell are just two massive human beings that are easy targets on set pieces. So again, I might take a look at their shots as well as their shot on target. Those are just two names of dudes way over 6 foot who you should know for Dortmund that, like, when you're that big, I'm just going to whip across as hard as I can at your forehead and hope you don't have to do much other than jump up in the air and try and plant it in the back of the net. And like I said, Serginho Dest, he does get forward. He has a lot of pace. He plays offense as well as defense. I know he plays it, at like a right back position, but look at what Lucas Vazquez and Danny Carvajal does for Real Madrid. I'm not saying he's near their talent level, but I mean, he might be actually kind of near Vazquez's talent level. I don't super respect Vazquez, but I do like Dest. He does get forward, and he will let a shot or two go, and plus 490 is just a completely disrespectful number for his shot on target. Often going to be a guy creating more by crossing and get when he pushes forward with the ball and finding the open man and tends to rack up more assists, but Dest ain't scared. He'll let it fly and he'll shoot it. Woo! All right, guys, that's 4 games over 2 days in one of the biggest competitions in all the world of sports. So that's really all I got for you. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in to Champions League. I want to remind you to like and subscribe to land your bets. Josh and I are going to continue working together all throughout the NCAA tournament and beyond. I will be bringing plenty of video content here in the future, so please support the page by liking and subscribing. It really does help us out. I also do a live show every Wednesday night called 2 Foot Talk. That's TWO Foot Talk. Live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. All the links are right down here below with my boy Young Leg, Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can also catch me with BetUS working on the La Liga show with my guy Flash and Klaus Germain. Not to brag, but I do want to show you guys this. Kind of crushed it this week, going 4-1. Probably should have been 5-0, but Sevilla coughed up a cheap goal in the 95th minute, costing both me and Klaus our sweeps, so I'm pretty pissed off about that. Anyway, you can catch me, Klaus, and Flash all over on the BetUS channel, which is linked, again, right down here below, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Coming up this week on the Land Your Bets Network, tomorrow I will be getting a CBB conference tournament preview video out for you all. I will be breaking down and taking some long shots in the AAC, Big East, Big Ten, Mountain West, Pac-12, and the SEC. All those conference tournaments kick off Wednesday, and then after this Sunday's Selection Sunday, I will be bringing you a bracket video with a new guest every day of the week until the tournament starts on Thursday afternoon. Right here on the Land Your Bets Network, I will be having Brad Thomas on Monday, my friend Brandy Mack from Twitter on Tuesday, and then Josh and I are going to talk the brackets Wednesday morning for our final video. That's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all you guys. I hope to see you at the window cashing some tickets. So that's it. That's all I got. That's talking Champions League football with Oaks. Peace. Y'all side.